And our organization is truly based on integrity. So we live it, we breathe it every day. We do what we say we're going to do. And even at the expense of business results. And we believe that nothing is more important than our reputation. So pretty cool values for our company, and pretty proud of the company. This is our growth. Now there's no numbers on there, but you can see we've grown 12% a year over the course of, and I call it since 1990 because that's when we actually got into the wet white market. Prior to that, we were exclusively in a filter market, coffee filter market. But since 1990, we grew 12% a year. And you can see where that bar is. So, I mean, in a short amount of time, you can tell we're a different company today than we were back in 1990. And in fact, we're a different company than we were 5 years ago, okay? And that takes different resources and different people. So sometimes I wake up and I think, you know, feel like this little guy. My daughter said to me, "Why are you showing David and Goliath? I thought you were talking about real stuff." And I said, well, this is very appropriate because you can change this, but we look at the big guy as the competition, right? The stakeholders, we have no shareholders because we're a private company, but our stakeholders are our employees, our customers, the consumers, our suppliers, okay, and the communities that we operate in, okay? Worldwide disasters, how many times does that change your business, right? To us, it's huge. You know, we get a disaster in Japan, all of a sudden, boom, the supply chain shut off from the Far East. I mean, it's really, everything really matters. The political leadership, I'm not even going to go there, but you know how that challenges us every day. And this is even important, and Tim has heard a lot in the last year, even a lot of new business. So we're going to grow 20% this year, okay? Because we got a lot of new business, and a business that we've been working on for a long time. But that's really hard to deal with that, okay? To fund it, to deal with your resources, to allow you to grow without getting uncontrolled. So yeah, the big guy sometimes is even new business. So here's my agenda. Sorry it took me so long to get to it. I'm going to talk a little bit about size, and I'm going to flip through this really fast, okay? Communicated the need to change. Talk a little bit about vision. Talk about the organization, teams, driving without a spare tire, and my guys know I talk about this one a lot. Although I may not call it driving without a spare tire, but it's about recruiting. Okay, and I'll give you an example, and it's a belief that I have. Is there any HR people here? Because if there are, you're going to hate this. Okay, you're really going to hate this. So I'm going to warn you ahead of time. All right, because my HR people just cringe when I talk about this subject. Okay, and then something I learned from Tim is, you need to invite some to their future, but you need to do it right. Okay. So this is right out of the U.S. Census Bureau, right? They talk about small companies, medium companies, and large companies. And the key here is that small companies, less than 20 employees, almost 88% of the 6 million companies in the U.S. Are small, less than 20 people. And here's an amazing thing. Companies with over 500 employees, only 0.3%. There's about 18,000, there it is, 18,000 companies in the entire US that are only over 100 million, which amazed me, okay? Yet, those 0.3% have 50% of all the employees, which is, you think about it. It makes sense. Typically, bigger companies grow slower, smaller companies grow bigger, okay? And why? Well, it's obvious. If you start from a small base, it's easy to grow a higher percentage. But how can companies grow? There's three ways that I call companies to grow. One is through category growth, right? And I'm trying to use some examples. And when I first did this, I had different examples because there was, different companies were performing differently. But you think of Subway, right? Subway is the largest chain in the world. They have more locations than McDonald's. We don't think of that, but they do. They surpassed them last year, okay? But how did they grow? They just grew by continuing to add more more stores, right? So that's category growth. All right, another one is, and I love this one, and it's category segmentation without cannibalization. So if you think about the skiing market back in the 70s, right? Everybody was skiing. Now, they said, okay, now we're gonna bring in snowboarding. They brought in snowboarding and they satisfied a whole new group of individuals who would have never skied. Okay, now there may have been some crossover, but so they didn't cannibalize the skiers. They just basically, boom, changed how many people got into the sport, right? And then there's the other category, which is, you know, segmentation with what I call with cannibalization, and that is, and I use the digital camera, right? Think about the 1 hour film industry and how that changed, right? There's still people doing development film, but think about how they changed. And you think about, you know, the business options that these individuals had. So, you know, a Subway's franchise owner, it's like, yeah, you just add locations and you grow. A ski resort, you know, they had the choice. And there were a couple ski resorts in the 80s and even 90s that made decisions, well, we're not gonna have snowboarders, okay? Well, they quickly changed, right? Because they realized they're missing out on a whole segment, right? And it didn't cut into their skiers. And then you have the 1 hour film developer, which is basically change or get out, right? So it's a whole dynamic about change. So you think about the wet wipes. Wet wipes industry is, you know, we say we're paper-based materials saturated with lotions, right? Designed to accomplish specific tasks, right? It's a convenience thing. It's convenient, time-saving, sanitary, disposable way to accomplish a task. So when I try to figure out where do we fit in here, okay, we're somewhere between, you know, a ski resort and 1 hour film developer, okay? We're very capital intensive, but it's typically, it's kind of change or die, but you can control your own destiny, okay? So change is a part of everything we have to do. And we basically say, you know, you need to communicate that need to change. And if you don't, you become extinct, right? If you don't change in some of these areas, okay? What are the potential reactions? Resistance, compliance, commitment, right? And I'm not going to get into everything in here, but I'll use a train metaphor that I use a lot. And I don't know if I stole this or not, because I've been using it for 20 years, and I'm trying to find a source that if I either developed it or if I stole it. And so if you ever heard this and you know where it came from, you need to tell me, because I need to start quoting this source, or I just came up with it, but it's been that long, okay? So I think, you know, when we get ready to execute a change, you have different types of people, right? You have the people that just resist change, right? They just resist it, right? They're the people that lay on the tracks. So the train's coming through the vegetable market, they're laying on the tracks. They're not behind this shelter, they're laying on the tracks. They're resisting change. You have those that want to derail the change, right? And in every corner, they're trying to derail, all right? So they're destructive. They're trying to build tracks to take that train away. You also then have, you know, what I call the compliant. Those that will wait for the train to come in. They're not going to jump on the train. They're going to wait for the train to start going about 6 miles an hour till they know they can catch it, and they'll run to catch it because they realize, okay, it's happening, I better jump on board, okay?